Welcome to the Loan Officer Training Series with the Mortgage Calculator. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to complete a VVOE for self-employed borrowers. So I'm going to go ahead and have Jose get it started right away here. So Jose, if you're ready, let me go ahead and pull up your screen here, and we will go through it. Sorry, give me just a second here. There we go. All right.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. So tonight's training is on how to complete a verbal verification of employment for self-employed borrowers. This is going to be a condition on all your loans that you get, right? If it's an employment type loan, the only loan you're not going to get this for is for an asset utilization loan or a DSCR loan, because neither of those loans are related to borrower employment. Asset utilization uses liquid assets as income to qualify the borrower, and DSCR uses the gross monthly rent of the property to qualify the borrower as well. So, like I mentioned, the verbal verification of employment will be a condition on all loans. However, for self employed borrowers, it does present a little bit of a challenge. So, what exactly is a verbal verification of employment, or also known as a VVOE? It's a process used within the mortgage industry as a means to confirm that the borrower is still actively employed in the same business, if self employed, which is what we're talking about here, or by the same employee, if it's a salaried or hourly borrower. And the VVOE is needed because the underwriter needs to confirm that the borrower is employed beyond the closing date. Now, there are multiple ways to complete a VVOE that we're going to cover in this presentation. There's the actual VVOE form. There's a letter from the tax preparer slash accountant slash CPA, could be any of those three. Bank statement with recent activity, or printout from state corporations or entity website. It's the same website. You can search for corporations or LLCs on the same website. Our first example is verifying with the VVOE form. Now, I have a sample form there. It's going to be signed at the bottom by the processor or the MLO, whoever completes the verification. And the information needs to be obtained from wherever you stated you obtained it from. 411.com, a Google search, directory assistance, employer website on the internet, or however it is that you obtain the information. You complete the form, make the call as needed, sign it, print your name, and submit the condition. Now, please note that this form is only possible to use on a self employed borrower when the borrower's company can verify the info by a third party like a controller, human resources, or management. The form cannot be completed by the borrower, and the form cannot be completed by any family member who may be also a manager of the company. It has to be arm's length transaction, as we like to call it, for that form. The next one I mentioned was verification with a CPA letter. Notice I have CPA in italics there. That is because um, it is not really have to be a CPA. It could be a registered tax preparer with a PTIN number. It could be an accountant, or it could be a CPA. And they need to provide the letter stating on their letterhead, dated and signed, that the business is still active. The letter needs to be dated within the time frame stated in the loan approval, which usually states 120 days or less from the note date. Note date is the closing date. Um, Now, this VVOE on the letter, where all we're basically stating is the business is still active, can be combined as part of the third party verification letter that you're usually going to be required to obtain from their CPA. So Besides the letter stating the normal verification stuff on the third party verification letter, like name and nature of the business, how long the borrower has owned the business, borrower's percentage of ownership in the business, and I got it. I repeated the second, fourth bullet point is repeat. But the fifth bullet point is the one that we're going to add, that the business is still active. So if you have that third party verification letter that you normally need to request anyhow for your self employed borrower, just make sure that you ask the tax preparer to add that the business is still active, and you should be fine and not have to request an additional letter on their letterhead just to state that. So remember, kill two birds with one stone when requesting the third party verification letter from the accountant. Make sure that you ask them to state if the business is still active. Another method we mentioned is verbal verification of employment with a bank statement or transaction history from the borrower. Now, depending on what type of business that they have, if they're a sole proprietor, they may not have a separate business account. If they are a corporation or an LLC, they're probably going to have a separate business account. So we would need a bank statement or transaction history if they don't have the latest bank statement out yet, dated within the last 10 days, showing business activity. You may be asked, if you provide this to verify that the business is still active, you may be asked to provide invoices or contracts to substantiate that the deposits are business related. And as always, it would be a good idea to submit a processor cert along with the statement connecting the dots, right? You're going to certify the data and the process. And the last example here is verbal verification of employment from the state corporate website. Now, again, I'm using state corporate website, the term, to mean for both corporations and LLCs, because you can do an LLC search, for example, on sunbiz.org, which is the Division of Corporations website for the state of Florida. Right, so you can see right there, detail by entity name is a Florida limited liability company. I did black out their name. I redacted the information of the company, but this to show you, I just went quickly to the sunbiz.org, did that search, and it shows there that the status of that business is active. That's what we remember. The whole purpose of this is just to state in some type of a verification that the business is still active. In this case, sunbiz.org says it's still active. We provide that printout, and we provide a processor cert, again, connecting the dots. And in all of the examples that I provided, except maybe the first one where we're actually providing the signed and completed verbal verification of employment form, it is always a good idea to provide a processor cert connecting the dots so that the underwriter has no doubt about what is the documentation that you presented and what is the reason that it was presented and why it meets the requirement of the condition. So to recap, the four methods are going to be the verbal verification of employment form, the CPA letter, bank statements showing recent business activity, or a printout from the state corporations or entity website showing that the business is still active. So wanted to bring these four across because we are having quite a few self-employed borrowers being approved, and we're seeing this condition. So I want to make sure that all of our MLOs that are working with the self-employed borrowers are going to be able to quickly provide a verbal verification of employment and hopefully get ahead of the game, kill two birds with one stone. And when you reach out to the CPA for the third party verification letter, just ask them to also add there if the business is still active, and you should be good to go.
All right. Thank you, Jose. Let's see here. Check if there's any questions. No, I don't see any questions. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. Quick one, but important one. So appreciate that, Jose. Remember, everybody, we do this at 7 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evening. This Thursday is the 4th of July, so we will not be doing one this Thursday. But normally, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, where we go through a different loan topic. So we will see you back here tomorrow.